You ever look into a child's eyes and wonder how the world dares to lie to something that pure? They're small, but they're not stupid. Oh, they see it. The silence between your smiles, the twitch behind your laughter, the heaviness in your hugs. You think you're hiding it, but they catch it all. You try to protect them from the world. But what if it's the world that's poisoning the protection? What if the very thing you're sheltering them with is the thing that's cracking their foundation? Ah, the pain you hide. Delicious little thing, isn't it? Dressed up in fake smiles, Sunday manners, and polite nods at dinner tables where no one says what they actually mean. You think you're burying it deep down, so deep it can't be found. But pain. Oh, no, pain doesn't rot like forgotten food. It ferments. It sharpens. And then it teaches. Not you. No. You're too proud to learn. It teaches the ones watching you. The ones copying how you walk. How you whisper when you're angry. How you clench your jaw instead of screaming when life knees you in the ribs. The ones who think your silence is strength. Those kids, they're building their entire idea of the world from the parts of you you're too scared to face. You think you're protecting them by hiding the storm, but you're not the umbrella, sweetheart. You think you're protecting them by hiding the storm, but you're not the umbrella, sweetheart. You're the thunder. Every time you swallow that scream, every time you nod and say, I'm fine, when your chest feels like it's caving in, you're showing them how to lie to themselves, how to pretend the fire's out while the walls are still burning. You don't talk about the nights you cried alone in your car, do you? What happens next? They grow up thinking suffering in silence is the way of life. They walk into relationships thinking love means enduring instead of healing. They find work that kills their soul slowly because they think struggle equals purpose. All the while, they're hearing your lessons without you ever speaking. Don't cry. Tough it out. Keep your head down. Nobody cares anyway. Funny thing is, you never said those words, but your behavior, it screamed every single one. The days where breathing felt like betrayal. No, you wrap it in discipline. You call it sacrifice. But they're watching. They know something's off. Kids always know. They pick it up in the pauses, the tension in your laugh, the way your eyes dart when certain questions come up. And little by little, they begin to mimic the quiet. They master the same art of emotional camouflage you've turned into second nature. You're not raising them with what you say. You're raising them with what you hide. And it's not fair. Not to them, not to you. But hey, life's not fair, right? Isn't that what you told yourself the first time your heart got crushed and no one noticed? But here's the catch. It doesn't stop with you unless you stop it. That little girl who's already watching how you react when someone disrespects you. That boy who sees you laugh off insults that crack your soul like glass. They're learning to accept crumbs because you never demanded a full plate. And you call that love. You call that parenting? You think shielding them from your tears is noble. But what if the real strength was in showing them it's okay to break sometimes? Let me ask you this. What's more dangerous? A broken world or a child raised to think breaking is forbidden? What do you think happens to a kid who only sees the mask and never the face? They grow up confused why they feel pain and think it's weakness. You didn't just give them your laugh, your eyes, or your last name. You gave them your coping mechanisms, your silence, your tolerance of mediocrity. You passed it all down like heirlooms laced in poison. And no one warned them, because no one warned you. And now you're here, watching a younger version of yourself walk straight into the same storm with the same blindfold you were handed. Because you never thought to rip it off in front of them. You just kept walking, quietly, proudly, blindly, confused why their instincts scream, but their mouths stay shut. Confused why they end up in rooms that look like yours, with partners who act like your ex, in jobs that suffocate them just like you were suffocated. All because the blueprint was pain wrapped in silence and sprinkled with denial. They don't believe in you, do they? Oh, they'll smile when you're around, pat your back, nod like puppets on invisible strings, but deep down, they're betting against you, secretly, silently, beautifully. They're keeping count of your mistakes like it's a game, a little scoreboard in their minds. Every failure, you felt it. The sideways glances, the we'll see murmured just under the breath. The way they change the subject when you start talking about that idea, that plan, that wild vision that keeps you up at night. They look at you like you've lost your mind, when in reality you've found something they'll never understand. Fire, raw, undeniable, untamed. But fire scares people, doesn't it? Especially the ones who've only known candles. Safe, flickering, controlled. Ding. Every stumble. Ding. Every stumble. Ding. And every time you dare to speak of dreams bigger than your circumstances, you can almost hear the quiet snickers. Because to them, you're just talk, you're just noise, and nothing more dangerous than a dreamer with a loud mouth and no proof. Let's talk about their silence. Oh yes, the delicious silence. The kind that says, we're waiting for you to fall. Not with malice. No, that would be too obvious. They want you to think they care, that they support you. But underneath it, they're addicted to your struggle. Your little setbacks feed their comfort, because as long as you stay beneath them, they don't have to confront their own cowardice. Your mediocrity keeps them warm at night. It justifies their decision to give up. So the moment you try to rise, really rise, you threaten everything they've settled for. And they can't have that. No, they'll say it's love. But love doesn't root for your failure behind curtains. What's funny is most of them aren't even doing it consciously. They're so used to dimming their own light, they assume yours must be a glitch. They project their limitations like graffiti on your soul. They draw borders around your potential with chalk, hoping the rain never comes to wash it away. But you're not made of chalk. You're the rain. You're the storm they never prepared for. And that terrifies them. Because if you make it, if you actually rise from the dust, if you dare to become everything you said you would, what does that say about them? It means they were wrong. It means they could have tried harder. It means their excuses crumble like stale bread. So they need you to fail, not out of hate, out of self-preservation. Your success is a mirror they can't look into. It's too honest, too loud, too real. And you're sitting there, maybe doubting yourself, wondering if they're right, wondering if you're crazy for thinking you're meant for more. But let me tell you a little secret. If no one doubts you, your dream isn't big enough. If no one flinches when you speak your vision aloud, then you're not speaking loud enough. You weren't born to be understood by people still sleepwalking through life. You weren't built to seek approval from crowds who cheer for failure dressed up as realism. They will doubt you. They must doubt you. It's part of the design. Their disbelief is the fuel, the friction, the resistance you were crafted to push through. They serve a purpose, these quiet critics. They remind you of the noise you were born to silence. They teach you to stop asking for permission, to stop explaining yourself to people who are allergic to growth, to stop shrinking just to make others comfortable. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. Let them pretend to care while secretly hoping you crash. Every step you take in spite of their silence is a war cry. Every inch of progress is a slap to the face of their complacency. Keep moving, not to prove them wrong, but because you already know you're right. They lied to you. Again. But this time it wasn't some stranger in a dark alley whispering half-truths in your ear. It was the ones you trusted. The close ones. The smiling ones. The ones who said they had your back while slowly digging the knife in deeper with every compliment. They wrapped their betrayal in pretty words and called it concern. Said things like, "We're just looking out for you," while quietly betting on your fall. But here's the kicker. They didn't lie out of hate. No, that would be too simple. They lied out of fear. No, that would be too simple. They lied out of fear. Your potential. Terrifying. Your ambition. Uncomfortable. Your vision. A little too loud for their taste. They needed to dim your light, not because they wanted to hurt you, but because it made their shadows feel safe. And you believed them. Of course you did. Because when enough people call you crazy, you start checking the mirror for cracks. When they tell you you're dreaming too big, you shrink your vision until it fits inside their tiny expectations. They said, be realistic. Translation? Be small. Be predictable. Be just like us. And you listened. For a while. You buried your instincts beneath politeness. You know what they really hate. Not that you want more, but that you're not waiting for permission. They can't stand that, because they've made their entire identity around excuses. Around, I would, but, and if only I had the time, and some of us don't have that luxury. They wear their fear like armor and call it wisdom. And when you step outside that cage, when you stop apologizing for your hunger, it forces them to see the bars they put around themselves. That's what they can't forgive. You made yourself digestible, so they wouldn't choke on your truth. You played it safe, thinking they'd finally clap for you. You played it safe, thinking they'd finally clap for you. Spoiler alert, they never clapped. They never do. Because no one applauds what they don't understand. And you were never built to be understood. You were built to disrupt. They'll say you've changed. Of course they will, because your growth feels like betrayal to people committed to stagnation. They'll say you're arrogant now, full of yourself, too much. But what they really mean is you're no longer afraid of being seen. You're no longer dimming your light to make them comfortable in their darkness. That's dangerous. Because once one person breaks out, others might realize they can too. You become a threat, not because you're better, but because you're brave, and bravery is contagious. So here they come, armed with subtle jabs, passive-aggressive compliments, and strategic silence. They won't confront you directly. That would require courage. No. They'll ghost you slowly, fade out like cowards dressed in civility. And it'll hurt at first. Of course it will, because betrayal always comes wearing familiar faces. But eventually you'll see it for what it is. Freedom. A shedding. A divine separation. The trash taking itself out, all neat and tidy. The truth is you don't owe them an explanation. Not for your ambition, not for your weird ideas, not for your goals that sound like madness to small minds. You owe yourself loyalty. You owe your younger self revenge. You owe your future self results. And if that means losing people along the way, good. Let them go. Some of them were just there to teach you how not to think, how not to live, how not to play small. Because deep down, you always knew. Because deep down, you always knew. You always knew you were made for something bigger. You always felt it. That itch, that pulse, that restless thunder under your ribs. They tried to medicate it, distract it, silence it. But you can't kill a calling. You can only delay it. And now it's roaring. Now it's too loud to ignore. Let them lie. Let them leave. Let them call you delusional. You just keep building. Keep walking. Keep speaking. Because the world doesn't need more well-behaved shadows. It needs someone willing to set the stage on fire and laugh while it burns. They don't see it yet, do they? That small shift. They don't see it yet, do they? That small shift. That barely audible click. That uncomfortable stillness before the chaos kicks in. Oh, they're too distracted. Nose deep in filters and fantasies, numbing themselves with noise, chasing the next escape like a mouse chasing crumbs in a rigged maze. But something's off. Something's off. Something's coming. And not everyone's gonna make it out of this little game intact. See, the ones who sleep through the storm, they never see the flood till it's at their knees, begging for attention with every inch. And by then, it's too late to swim. You, though, you feel it. That slow crawl of truth making its way up your spine. That itch behind your eyes. The one that whispers, this isn't just another day. No, it's something else. The air is thicker. The silence between distractions is louder. And your gut, it's practically screaming. But most people, they've trained themselves to ignore it. They sold their instinct for comfort. They traded awareness for applause. They keep scrolling, sipping, sedating, hoping the truth doesn't knock too hard. Because what if it actually answers? You were never meant to fit in with that. That plastic parade of pretend priorities. Wake up, work, worry, repeat. Smile just enough to blend in. Dream just little enough to survive. Keep your voice low, your steps softer, your soul shackled. But here's the real joke. None of it was real. The systems they forced you to believe in, cracking. The people who swore they were in control, panicking behind closed doors. And all that effort to make you feel crazy for questioning. It was just projection. They were terrified you'd see through the curtain. Terrified you'd stop playing the part they handed you. The shift that's coming, it isn't loud. It doesn't care for announcements or parades. It doesn't wait for your comfort zone to be ready. It comes for the obedient, the distracted, the ones who thought silence meant safety. And when it lands, it doesn't knock. It breaks the door. It flips the script, and suddenly, see, truth is funny like that. It doesn't care how loud the lie was. Doesn't matter how many liked it, shared it, voted for it. When truth moves, it doesn't ask for permission. And it's moving now, quietly, mercilessly, cutting through illusions like a scalpel through silk. And those who still pretend not to see it, they'll be the first to fall. Not because they're evil, not because they're weak, but because they chose denial over discipline, comfort over clarity, safety over soul. The crazy ones, the ones who prepared in whispers and walked with purpose even when no one clapped, they become the leaders, the pillars, the last ones standing in a world that forgot how to listen. They become the leaders, the pillars, the last ones standing in a world that forgot how to listen. But you're not here by accident. You didn't stumble into this message while killing time. No. Something dragged you here. Kicking, screaming, questioning. Something inside you still works, still hears the frequency the world's trying to mute. And now you're standing at the edge, toes curled over the cliff, wondering if you're the only one who feels it. Spoiler, you're not. There are others. Few, yes, but focused. Scarred, but sharp. And we don't wait for permission. We move when the shift moves. We speak when the silence screams. We act while the world delays, wondering if you're the only one who feels it. Spoiler, You're not. There are others. Few, yes, but focused. Scarred, but sharp. And we don't wait for permission. We move when the shift moves. We speak when the silence screams. We act while the world delays. Because when everything breaks, and it will, the ones who were warned but waited will wish they'd moved when the whisper first hit their bones. They'll beg for second chances from a system that never cared. They'll pray to gods they only visit in emergencies. And by then, the shift won't be a warning. It'll be a reckoning. As if the world pauses for the lazy. Let me tell you something. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait. It doesn't care that you had a bad morning or that your coffee was cold. It just keeps going, dragging the future behind it like a bag of bones. You want to know why people fail. It's not because they weren't good enough. It's not because they weren't good enough. It's not because they didn't have the tools or the connections or the fancy certificates hanging on their walls. It's because they hesitated. They froze when the fire was lit. They blinked when they should have stared back. They asked for permission when they should have started the riot. And now they sit, slouched in the shadows, wondering why the world forgot them. Newsflash, it didn't. They just moved too slow. And the world doesn't slow down for the scared. You think the odds are against you. They are. You think the odds are against you. They are. So what? You think life's fair? It's not. Never was. Never will be. That's the beauty of it. Because once you stop expecting it to be easy, once you stop needing it to be comfortable, you unlock something the others are too soft to touch. Power. Not the kind they sell you on TV. Not the kind that hides behind money and status. I'm talking about that raw, unfiltered, undiluted surge that comes from knowing you're no longer waiting for a sign. You are the sign. You're the storm. You're the glitch in their system. You've got fire in your lungs and they told you to whisper. You've got thunder in your chest and they handed you a script. Rip it up. Walk off their stage. Burn the curtain. This world isn't changed by well-behaved dreamers. It's flipped upside down by the reckless, the relentless, the misunderstood maniacs who wake up and decide,